Welcome to the 98 Central podcast, where we talk about growing a business, working in media, and building a team that we love. I'm Kyle Jewell, social media strategist here at 98C, and I'm joined by Jen Blair, our COO, brand director,
Hello.
do-it-all queen. How are you doing, Jen?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Thank you. So I've gathered you here today to talk about the platform that, to be fair, we're still learning a ton about every single day, and that's TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it'd be best if we start with a little bit of a history on TikTok, which is hilarious because it's only like 5 years old.
Yeah.
But so much has happened within 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'll kick it off. 2016, this new app was launched by a Chinese-owned company called ByteDance.
Mm-hmm.
They grew a little bit, but their growth didn't really accelerate until the year later when they bought out and acquired another competitor called Musical.ly. And then everything just kind of took off from there. Same year, 2017, they launched on the international market. By 2018, celebrities in the U.S., Jimmy Fallon, once late night talk show hosts start using an app, it's game over.
Right.
Like it's infiltrated. So by 2018, it had really solid footing in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then 2019, advertising was launched within the app.
Yeah.
So we're looking at within 3 years, startup has gone from 0 users to enough users to launch an ad platform.
That's crazy.
That is nuts.
So many things I want to say about that. Can I interrupt already?
Yes, go.
Okay. Sorry, I'm really bad at that. So what's interesting about TikTok is that it is already entering a world where we have user behavior and track records established, right?
Yeah.
Like, so every other social platform up to this point has had to kind of feel their way out and be like, okay, well, this thing's working, so now we're going to do this, or this thing's working, so we're going to do that. And brands are here, so we're going to make them pay for ad space. So that kind of groundwork was already established in so many ways. And now here's TikTok, who's able to speed through that because they know what works.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if we've talked about this a little bit offline, but every other major social platform really started in the West and moved throughout the rest of the world.
Yeah.
TikTok did the opposite. So I wonder if that contributed to their, I mean, it's almost, I want to call it like a contrarian model for social platform, but it's super simple and basic.
Yep.
It does like one thing in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
And I think the simplicity of it, I mean, there's more to it than that, but simplicity really made it take off. And then if I'm jumping back into my history book.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. 2020 was a significant year for a lot of reasons, but specifically for TikTok's growth. They finally hit 100 million users in the US, which was up 800% from 2018.
That's insane.
Multiplied total user count by 8 in just 2 years. Pandemic probably played a significant role in that. I mean, people were at home. Other algorithms, like you can kind of reach to the bottom of your Instagram feed, to your Twitter feed, your Facebook. I'm not sure that many people were on LinkedIn during the pandemic, but TikTok just kind of goes forever. As long as you want to scroll, And what a better platform to have at your disposal when you've got literally nothing better to do than browse it. So the timing was just impeccable. About perfect for it. I'm going to move forward one more year to 2021. 1 billion total users worldwide. Significant milestone, I would say. And then major earnings from them for ad revenue. I still can't believe this number. $4 billion in ad revenue in 2021.
That's crazy.
Yep. 2020.
Do you know how that compares to like Meta?
I didn't pull that. I think it competes. It's pretty, in terms of dollars spent per user, I think it's got a pretty high number compared to Meta.
Man, that's crazy.
2022 predictions by the end of this year say that there will be 3 billion total TikTok users. Wow. So it will have tripled again.
All that to say, it's something that people are quickly adapting. People are on a lot.
Yeah.
I think even just 2 years ago, there was a lot of talk about like, oh, is this safe? How much data is it collecting? Where is it going? It's going to China. How much do they know about us? Is this a national security risk? And now that those concerns seem to have just flown right out the window.
Yeah. I mean, the success of the app, I mean, once brands kind of get involved and start using this platform, I feel like those concerns kind of melt away. Yeah. I mean, it's a serious business tool now.
Right.
More brands are using it than ever. Obviously, because it's only 5 years old, so it's only growing in its usage for businesses. And I mean, I feel like brands took their time to adapt to it because it was such a new platform.
Yeah.
And still, $4 billion in ad revenue in 1 year alone means that the audience on that app. If you're selling product or service, they are already on that app. They're there.
And that's crazy. And again, like going back to, this is not a platform that had to kind of feel its way out the way that others have.
Yeah.
We've already developed the language for things like influencing. We've already developed the language for things like content strategy. And all of those things were put in place. People already know how to build a strategy. People already know how to leverage that, I guess, that medium. And so that is just making people flock and realizing, like, I think especially in this space, the best time to make something of yourself on there is when it's new and fresh and there's not as many eyes. And so people are seeing it as a way to grow and to make a name for themselves. And so they're going there to do that.
It's a good opportunity for any creator. I mean, even if it's just, a kid at home.
Yeah. Let's see. So things about TikTok. And I remember, Will, our CEO, and I were having this conversation probably in 2020. And he was like, I just don't want to go on TikTok because every time I do, it's just people dancing. And I said to him, like, the one thing you need to do is just like look for something that you're interested in. Just search for one thing related to anything that you like, and your algorithm is going to change in an instant.
It'll fill your feed up.
And so he did that, and Will is very much a TikTok fan.
Follow Will on TikTok if you haven't.
Will.tv, all spelled out, no dots, just the DOT.
We'd get fired if we didn't say that. So.
Help build his followers.
No, he shares really great stuff. He has he's a video guy, so I would totally recommend it for anyone.
So the point is like you can find any topic, right? And so that's another big conversation about TikTok is how it's almost like becoming more searchable than Google.
Right.
Yeah.
And it kind of knows, this might be overreaching, but it kind of knows what you're looking for before you're even looking for it. In a sense, it just knows your consumption so well.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a sticky platform.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about TikTok today. What does it look like today? We talked about brands and businesses are starting to build their accounts. The audience is starting to kind of take shape and skew a little bit older. I think there's a perception that it's just kids who are on there doing dances, like you said with Will. That is absolutely not the case right now. Large majority of their users now are between the ages of 18 and 34. It's like an overwhelming 70% of those users, and then 30% of those are 25 to 34. That's a significant market for a lot of brands. So how could brands and businesses leverage TikTok?
Right.
And the other thing too is we talked about this and we've had internal discussions here, kind of becoming a necessity almost.
Oh yeah, you can't just ignore it anymore. You got to think about ways that you can tackle it. And if you're still sitting there thinking that TikTok is only for like dance trends or just weird goofy things, or I don't know, that's not what it is. You can truly find a niche for anything, and you can do serious informational content or you can do goofy things too. And I think brands have been kind of doing a little bit of both. And then on the informational side, I think that the big difference is hooks and pacing, So if you're going to teach somebody something, you need to make sure that your purpose is quick. It's within those first 3 seconds. Like ask somebody a question or plant a seed, plant a curiosity that's going to get them to keep watching that thing. Right.
Yeah. We've structured, this is something that we've had to learn too over the past month or so with our own content. And going back to Will, he's going to love all this free ad time we're giving him. But that's what he does really well with his TikToks that he makes on his own. He has a really short hook, great pacing, tons of good content in there. And that's his style, and that works for him. And I think the other thing that's important to know is that a lot of different techniques too. As long as you follow a basic structure of, providing some sort of information, but however you structure it, and it proves to perform well for your audience, that's your structure now. You can kind of stick with that. And we were talking earlier about profiles, different types of profiles that have kind of like caught steam and have like really gained a ton of followers and a ton of tractions in a short time. And they've done that by just being very consistent with their messaging.
Right. Yes. I feel like on TikTok, it's more important than ever to bang the drum.
Yeah.
We say that. I think that's something, I know that I say that in meetings with clients, especially when we're doing onboarding, especially during content strategy. Beat the drum. If you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again, it's totally fine because it's just going to reinforce what you're here for and what your audience needs to know about you. But on TikTok, I mean, that takes it to another degree.
Right. Yeah. And I think it might be helpful to compare between Instagram and TikTok here, just for like strategy's sake. Instagram, right, very wide bench, right? You have a wide variety of skills, graphic design, video editing, like caption writing. TikTok, very narrow focus.
Yep.
Obviously, it's all video focused, right?
Yep.
So if you're great at concepting, if you have a vision before you even hit recording, storyboarding.
Yep.
If you can record content well, which most people can now with smartphones.
Edit well.
Yeah, if you can edit well, if you can use the like trending audio, find a way to use those to like support a key message or like bring your video home. Very narrow lane, right? Very narrow set of skills. They're all video oriented.
Yep.
But it kind of forces you to burrow really deeply into that little hole and try to discover your skills.
Yep.
And the other thing too is that each video on TikTok, there's a good chance that whoever sees it, it's their first time seeing you.
Yes.
Right?
You have to treat you have to treat every single touch on every social platform as the first contact. But on TikTok, I think it's more important than ever to do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the Instagram comparison, wide net, right? Because there's a tons of different content types that you could leverage for Instagram. TikTok, very narrow net. Think like shooting fish in a barrel almost. You have to be very direct, very pointed, concise, and then, again, keep hitting that drum so you're burrowing even further down into that segment.
Some practical examples, and these are more like influencer side, not necessarily, well, one is more influencer side, one's more business related, but there's a girl that I follow, she's a private chef in the Hamptons, and she literally just kind of lifestyle blogs about like her job. She starts almost every single video with, I'm a private chef in the Hamptons, follow me on my day, and then just goes right into it. First thing you hear every single time. And then there's another lady, you're going to laugh. Everybody's going to laugh when I say this. She's a cat groomer. She's a master certified cat groomer. And every single one of her videos, she just has a cat and she's grooming the cat. And like every time, I think she starts the same way. And she, talks like, she says that I'm a cat groomer, but then she goes in and says like, hi, I'm here with Muffin and we're grooming him today. And then she starts talking about what kind of cat Muffin is and everything. Does the same thing. You watch the same process. She sits down and she combs him out. Like you can physically see her doing the same things, but she tells the story of everything that she's doing and teaches you every little step. And she shows her expertise. I'm like, hey, I've, he has these kinds of mats. And so I have to take care of him in this way. And so every little situation that she encounters, it becomes another moment for education. And so while you're watching her do the same thing every single time,
fresh.
And like, honestly, like she's like, makes me want to take my cat. She lives in New Jersey. And I'm like, can I come and like have you groom my cats? Because the one wants to kill me every time I touch her. And I think that this lady could do it. I think she could groom the cat. So I don't know. But I mean, again, it's the consistency. It's the value of the content that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I think that's a good example of consistency in messaging and delivery. But the other thing that you have to keep in mind too, to stay consistent is your theme. Like you have a thematic element or maybe a storyline. And we talked about some brands that have very consistent, some consistent elements. And one of those, too, that's really important is to always have a face or like an ambassador for your brand.
So they are saying that on TikTok, you are more likely to get views or exposure if you're showing your face. And so the way that I have seen some brands execute this is that they actually have I guess just the face of the brand. They have the ambassador. Duolingo is not really a person. They have their big green owl. Yeah. But it's
consistent and he's in everything for them. Yeah.
It's actually kind of wise if you think about it, because it doesn't matter if the person who's in the suit quits. Yep. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's another one. It's a company called Nugs. I think they make like chicken nuggets or like fake chicken, like vegan chicken nuggets. I don't even know. And so this is actually interesting because they started out with a girl who ran their TikTok account. And she became the face of their TikTok, and she told a great story about, like she basically was the person who got the brand story across. Yeah. And there was a bunch of storylines that she did, but she became super well known. They've got tons of followers. People know about this product, but then she quit.
Publicly, right?
Yeah. So one of her last posts was just kind of like, hey, I quit. And like people didn't think it was serious. And then they saw a new face on there. And that girl took it pretty hard. I mean, like she was getting a lot of like really negative engagement when she took over, because they were like, well, who are you? What did you do with the other person? Did she really quit? I thought that was fake. But they made it a really nice and kind of comfortable transition ultimately. But long story short, they were able to successfully use and grow a great following by appointing somebody as the face of the brand.
Yep.
One more example of how that's good is Washington Post. Yep. Washington Post does a great job with their TikTok account. They've got, I think, 3 people that seem to be consistent on it. And they are just pumping out content, news stories, making it interesting. They're a little goofy, a little quirky. They don't necessarily like jump on trend after trend after trend, but they do it occasionally. Yeah. And they just make everything so entertaining and so informative.
And I mean, to give them even more credit too, they brought life to a brand that, I mean, Washington Post news, like how can that be fun and exciting? And they added that element. So that's a really good lesson for if you're thinking about TikTok, but maybe you have I'm using air quotes, like a serious brand, maybe a more serious topic. There's still ways to incorporate a little bit of energy and personality into that without completely blowing it overboard.
Right. And I like the weird little thematic elements that they do too. Oftentimes, if they like want to act out somebody being on a phone, they use a banana. And I just think, I don't know, little things like that are consistently done. They're just like running gags. Yep. It cracks me up. And it just, makes me want to keep watching for those things. So
the other thing about, another thing about TikTok that is important for social marketers to know, quality bar is much lower.
Yes.
And it's kind of like the quantity that you can churn out is more important than the quality of a single piece of content.
Yeah. I mean, I would say definitely more along the lines of, like video quality, not necessarily message. I think message is always going to be important, but you don't necessarily need a very fancy camera to make something great.
Yeah. I mean, everyone now has the camera for it in their pocket.
Right.
So what that means for, I think, a social manager or maybe a social coordinator, social intern, plan your time accordingly, right? So take a day and plan out all these ideas and then use the rest of your week to just churn them out, right? Whereas the opposite can be said for like a higher quality standard where we use most of our time planning and strategizing and then use very little time like putting that together just to make sure the buttons are, everything's buttoned up and like we have a solid foundation. Kind of have to flip that. And that's been an interesting challenge for me to like shift from all this thinking time to now this is all like recording and creation time.
Yeah. I said this in a different podcast, but I miss the days where you could just pick a picture or take a picture and post it. Yeah. TikTok is a job. I mean, I say social media is a full-time job, but TikTok, I think alone is a full-time job.
I mean,
storyboard and
and we've been seeing in various newsletters that we're subscribed to that like TikTok teams are becoming a thing now.
Yeah, people are hiring specifically
TikTok videographer, a TikTok editor. And some people might think that that's insane. And I think that is probably like 2 years ahead of its time.
I think so too. Like again, Washington Post, they've got 3 faces that show up. They've clearly got a team that they just probably sit around and brainstorm about these things. And clearly it's paying off for them. I love watching their stuff.
Yeah. Another thing that strategy-wise could be helpful for brands too, if they feel stuck telling their own brand story or just feel like maybe they're being too consistent with their messaging. They're pounding the drum too much. Things are getting stale. Brands who can talk off the subject.
Yes.
They do well.
Mm-hmm. It's like my favorite phrase. I don't know how many times I've said it on this podcast. But who's a good example? Ryanair. Like they're not just making content that's like, here's your experience and we're going to walk you down the aisle and you can see what the inside of a plane looks like. And I don't know, like nobody cares. Like they're actually doing something kind of funny and putting faces on their planes and still being relevant in a way that is not beating the typical expected drum of that content.
I think another trend here that I just now noticed, nobody's really selling in these videos either. So Washington Post they're delivering news, right? Just in a different format. Ryanair, they're not selling plane tickets. Here's why you need to buy a plane ticket for Ryanair.
Right.
Same with Duolingo, same with Nugs. There was no selling. There was just the storytelling.
Yeah.
Maybe a good note for first-time TikTok users, maybe as you mature with your strategy too and start to get your feet underneath you.
Yeah.
Start thinking of ways you can talk off the subject while not like completely undermining your brand's credibility.
Right, exactly. It's still another way to show your personality and show who's behind your brand and show the human side.
Yeah.
And ultimately, social media, that's really the root of it,
yeah.
especially for brands. Is how do you show your human side?
Yeah, and the further that brands and company pages and agencies get away from the human side, performance follows. It goes down with it. It's everything is human-based. It's almost all companies are human to human in some capacity.
Yeah.
So to keep that story like at the heart of any strategy, specifically TikTok, is very important. Last piece of advice. We laughed about this one earlier, but don't believe the accounts that give you hacks to grow your following and get likes and stuff.
I mean, I think it's always good to listen to them, and there's always takeaways. Yeah. You can always learn little tips and tricks, or you can learn something about the platform that you didn't know before. Yeah. But I don't know. There's a trend. Again, I think this feeds into, we know what can perform well, like as we've seen it with other platforms. We've seen it in the evolution of other platforms. And so that's some of the things that people are drumming over the head. Hey, if you use this sound, or hey, this trend is working, then you can get, there's one thing that I keep hearing over and over again. It's like small creators are getting they're blowing up and they're going viral by doing this one thing. And I'm like, okay.
Probably not.
This one sound under, 100,000 uses is getting all this attention, and you can too. And I think it's really easy to get sucked into that and let it take you off track in some ways.
That's a dangerous it's a dangerous game to play. And ultimately it takes away from your brand too if you're stuck doing that all the time.
And it takes away from your creative energy. And ultimately, if you're doing something that is true to you, is true to your strategy, is educating your audience, then you don't need hacks. Like it will come. It's just it might not come immediately. People like immediate results, but wouldn't you rather just build the hard-won loyalty?
Yeah. So patience and organic social growth is always needed.
Always better.
I think it's time for a little honesty hour about us and TikTok and how we use it for our clients. So we've had one client that used TikTok, and we have learned so much just from that one client.
Yeah.
And we're we're approaching a point where we need to bring it on for almost all clients.
Yeah, we can find a case for every single one.
And this conversation's changed so much in the past 6 months. If you would have asked me ago, I would have said, nope, probably not an audience there. Yeah. And now it's this has to be one of our core profiles that we're offering for clients, depending on their audiences. And it's almost like even for clients who don't have their industry doesn't have a large conversation volume in the app.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's a huge opportunity.
Right.
Because everyone will be, not everyone, but the audience is continuing to grow at a high rate. Wouldn't it be a great time to get in front of people early and start bringing on those other users?
Yeah, you can be that person who's getting kind of being the early adopter and getting those eyes that they're looking for a place to land, and it can be on you. So, yeah.
Well, cool. I think that we've helped some people understand TikTok a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest obstacles to even approaching it is just the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this helps people become a little bit more comfortable with the tool.
And realize that you can do something with it. It's not just dancing. You can educate. Yeah. You can use it. Don't really take this as an opportunity to wash away any preconceived notions of what it is.
Yeah.
Because they're probably wrong.
Yeah. And if you're if you got into marketing and creative to tell stories, this is an awesome outlet to do it because you can do it in a way that you've never done it before. Really personal. Again, going back to the talking off the subject, you can take those things further than you could on really any other platform.
Yeah.
If you're nervous about starting TikTok, download the app.
Yes.
Just download, start searching for a few things.
Look for one thing you like.
Yes, one thing that you enjoy, and then let it build your feed through there. And I promise you'll come to understand it a little bit better too.
So, agreed.
Well, cool. So what are you digging this week?
This week I am digging astrology Instagram. I have been for a while, but yes. I don't know. I get really like drawn into things that are posting about like, I don't know, just astrology. So my husband's an Aquarius and literally everything that they post. It's like, I can't necessarily sue you and have the things, but almost everything that they post, I'm like, that is Nate. And it cracks me up. Like there was one that, it said something about, I can't remember. It was, like your workout style, if you're an Aquarius or something. And it was like, warms up for 30 minutes before doing anything. And I'm like, that is Nate. He will stretch for 30 minutes. Like,
good for him.
We'll never work out because he's like, I got to warm up, So
you can never be too warm.
Yeah.
Trust
just
me.
Entertaining.
You enjoy your knees. Never be too warm.
Yeah, right. What are you digging?
I recently got a PS5 after years of I grew as a human. Like I really developed my patience skills. I finally have it, and it's glorious.
I wish I would have known that you were looking for one because my sister ended up with 2 last Christmas for her husband.
That's okay.
Needed to get rid of one.
I don't think I was very open about how badly I wanted it.
Yeah.
It was mostly I was convincing myself that I didn't need one.
Gotcha.
And then PlayStation was doing like a sign up for the opportunity to purchase one, to sign up to join a queue that could potentially get you a
And you won.
And I did. I won. Yeah.
Nice.
So I got it.
Enjoy
I had to get it. I will.
Enjoy that piece of hardware.
I do it's so nice. It's huge, by the way.
Really?
It's so much larger than I thought it would be. So that was a jolt.
Nice.
But yeah. That's it. Just nerd stuff.
Nice. We love nerd stuff at 9AC.
Yeah, we do. Well, thanks for listening or watching to the 9 Central podcast. If you want to learn more about us, head to our website, 9AC.tv can get you there. 9AC.org can also get you there. Find us on YouTube. See some of our work on YouTube. We do some really cool stuff. I'm a little biased, but we do cool stuff. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Find us on LinkedIn.
Maybe TikTok one day. Maybe we're about that time where we need to start using it.
By the time this releases, we'll probably be on TikTok too. Yeah. So, check us out and have a great day. I'm just gonna do the PS5. Okay. Great, sorry, John. I'm ready. I did the least important part of this is now ready.